Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahushai, Ba'ashem Barakah Kodash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you Akim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Raya with another video, and I'm going to start it off with 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 3, a personal favorite of mine. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. And when we go to that word perdition in the Strongs, it's
Strong's G 684. Apoleia.
Apoleia, destroying, utter destruction of vessels, a perishing, ruin, destruction. And that son of perdition has been revealed to be Esau Edom, the so-called Caucasians, the red Hebrew Edomite, the wicked whom the earth has been given into the hands of. And you can clearly see the fruits of these Edomites' labors ever since they came into rulership, beginning with the Renaissance: death, destruction, rape, robbery, and murder. And besides being known as the son of perdition, you're also known as the red horse in Revelation chapter 6 verse 4. And there went out another horse that was red, and the reason it was red is because you Edomites are red. You lack pigmentation, and your blood can be seen through your translucent skin. That's why it says in Genesis 25 that one came out red all over like a hairy garment. And this is a favorite picture of mine. I am not blushing. Why is your face so red? Because you're an Edomite. And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, to create a perdition, utter destruction, chaos, and mayhem, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. And when you go to Genesis chapter 27, one of Esau's blessings, besides the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven, was that sword. And that sword is his technology, his military might, and his science, which he has used to get the world under his subjection. And I've done many videos on the past showing all the wickedness that you Edomites have caused through your science and your warfare. And this is just going to be another video following suit, specifically dealing with chemical and nuclear weapons you use during wars such as Vietnam and the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. And we're going to start off with Vietnam with Agent Orange. And this is an article from truthdig.com titled "Vietnam War is Not Over for Agent Orange Victims." Hey, look at his body back in the Strongs. Destroying, utter destruction of vessels, and the human body is considered a vessel. Watching the Ken Burns-Lynn Novick 18-hour series, The Vietnam War, is an emotional experience. Whether you served in the U.S. military during the war or marched in the streets to end it, you cannot remain untouched by this documentary. The battle scenes are powerful. The stories of U.S. veterans and Vietnamese soldiers who fought on both sides of the war are compelling. The toll in human terms caused by the war is staggering. Nearly 58,000 Americans and 2 to 3 million Vietnamese, many of them civilians, destroyed by this son of perdition, were killed in the war. Untold numbers were wounded. Many U.S. veterans of the war suffer post-traumatic stress disorder. More U.S. Vietnam War vets have committed suicide than died in the war. However, those numbers do not begin to tell the complete story of the war. And the devil doesn't care about his own. You've got a lot of Iraq and Afghanistan U.S. veterans committing suicide now. U.S. chemical warfare, in one of its most serious omissions, for good reason, because it just further sheds light on you Edomites and the fact that you're the devil that the Bible speaks of, the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan. The series gives short, swift shrift to the destruction wreaked by the U.S. military's spraying of deadly chemical herbicides containing the poison dioxin over much of Vietnam, the most common of which was Agent Orange. This is one of the most tragic legacies of the war. Yet aside from a few brief mentions, the victims of Agent Orange/dioxin, both Vietnamese and American, are not portrayed in the series. More importantly, the ongoing harm created by this chemical warfare program is never mentioned. Agent Orange/dioxin was a herbicidal chemical weapon manufactured by U.S. chemical companies like Dow and Monsanto and sprayed by the U.S. military from 1961 to 1971. And I remember there was a video of a representative from Monsanto on some talk show talking about how safe Agent Orange was and that you could drink it. And the interviewer asked him, well, why don't you drink it right now to show us? And he said, oh no, I'm not at liberty to do so. Just complete madness. Dioxin is one of the most toxic chemicals known to humankind. Approximately 3 million Vietnamese and thousands of US and Allied soldiers were exposed to Agent Orange/dioxin. Slovakia. I'm not sure if it was Agent Orange or napalm that the representative was saying was safe to drink, but it was definitely either one of those. You can find it just by going on to YouTube. The U.S. government was aware that the use of poison as a weapon of war was forbidden by international law well before it authorized its use in Vietnam. In fact, the U.S. government suppressed a 1965 report called the Bionetics Study that showed dioxin caused many birth defects in experimental animals. It was not until the results of that study were leaked that the use of Agent Orange/dioxin was stopped. Horrific birth defects. Those exposed to Agent Orange/dioxin often have children and grandchildren born with serious illnesses and disabilities. There's a virtual unanimity of opinion within the international scientific community that the exposure to Agent Orange/dioxin caused some forms of cancers, reproductive abnormalities, immune and endocrine deficiencies, and nervous system damage. Slovakia. Second and third generation victims continue to be born in Vietnam, as well as to U.S. veterans and Vietnamese Americans in the United States. For many of them and their progeny, the suffering continues. Mai Ying Vu was exposed to Agent Orange while serving in the Army of South Vietnam. He carried barrels of the chemicals to spray in the jungle. His sons were unable to walk or function normally. Their limbs gradually curled up and they could only crawl. By age 18, they were bedridden. One died at age 23, the other at age 25. Na Tran, a French-Vietnamese woman who worked in Vietnam as a war correspondent, was there when the U.S. military began spraying chemical defoliants. A big cloud of the agent enveloped her. Shortly after her daughter was born, the child's skin began shedding. She could not bear to have physical contact with anyone. The child never grew. She remained 6.6 pounds, her birth weight, until her death at the age of 17 months. Tran's second daughter suffers from alpha thalassemia, a genetic blood disorder rarely seen in Asia. Tran saw a woman who gave birth to a ball with no human form. Many children are born without brains. Others make inhuman sounds. They are victims who have never stood up. They creep and barely lift their heads. And you Edomites like to portray so-called Negroes and Latinos in the news as savage animals, which 2/3 are, but so-called Negroes and Latinos mainly kill each other. You don't see Daquan or Jose going around the world dropping Agent Orange on people or shooting them with depleted uranium rounds or carpet bombing them. Rosemarie Han Mizo is the widow of George Mizo, who fought for the U.S. Army in Vietnam. After he refused to serve a third tour, Mizo was court-martialed, spent 2.5 years in prison, and received a dishonorable discharge. Before his death from Agent Orange-related illnesses, Mizo helped found the Friendship Village, where Vietnamese victims live in a supportive environment. Dr. Jean Stellman, who wrote the seminal Agent Orange article in Nature, said this is the largest unstudied, unnatural environmental disaster in the world. Dr. Jean Grassman of Brooklyn College at the City University of New York stated dioxin is a potent cellular dysregulator that alters several pathways and disrupts many bodily systems. Utter destruction of vessels, bodily vessels. She said children are very sensitive to dioxin, and the intrauterine or postnatal exposure to dioxin may result in altered immune, neurobehavioral, and hormonal functioning. Women pass their exposure to their children both in utero and through the excretion of dioxin in breast milk. That's it with this article. But let's go to Google Images and see some Agent Orange victims to see the fruits of Esau Edom's labors. You got to remember, a lot of these people have been ruined generationally. So these aren't people that were directly affected by it in Vietnam. These are their sons and daughters and granddaughters and grandsons. That guy that was in the article. With all this information coming out, you Edomites can't escape who you are biblically, the sons of perdition, the wicked whom the earth has been given into the hands of, the border of wickedness, the devil. Because everywhere you go, again, as I said at the beginning of the video, you bring nothing but rape, robbery, murder, death, destruction, mayhem, chaos. And the world is going to rejoice when you Edomites are finally taken out of power. Not just the people in it, but nature itself. And if Agent Orange wasn't bad enough, we've got a more modern example with depleted uranium. In case some of you proud Edomites out there will say, oh, the U.S. or European powers stopped using chemical weapons a long time ago. We just bomb people and shoot them now, which is so much better and more humane. This is on EcoWatch.com, titled The Toxic Legacy of Depleted Uranium Weapons. We all should be aware of the dangers posted by the world's stockpile of nuclear weapons. The 8 countries known to possess nuclear weapons have 10,000 plus nuclear warheads, and especially post-Fukushima, we now understand firsthand the potential danger of nuclear power plants, many of which are aging and highly vulnerable to natural disasters. As of August 2012, 30 countries are operating 435 nuclear reactors for electricity generation. 66 new nuclear plants are under construction in 14 countries. But how many of us know about the current manufacturing and active use of depleted uranium weapons? DU, uranium-238, is a radioactive waste byproduct of the uranium enrichment process. It results from making fuel for nuclear reactors and the manufacturing of nuclear weapons. In a frightening adaptation of the cradle-to-cradle philosophy in manufacturing, which seeks to use waste in the manufacturing process to create other useful products, militaries around the world have come up with the brilliant idea of taking DU and making conventional weapons with it. According to bandepleteduranium.org, approximately 20 countries are thought to have DU weapons in their arsenal. Nations known to have produced these weapons include the UK, Edomites, the US, Edomites, France, Edomites, Russia, Edomites, China, Moabites, and Pakistan, Elamites. But you see, it's mainly Edomites that are using it. And the only reason these other nations have it is because Edomites were the first ones to create these weapons. Du is well liked by armed forces because it is twice as dense as lead, and when fused with metal alloys, it can be made into highly effective armor-piercing weapons